Somebody tried recording right now? Who started recording? Okay. So we once started, now we'll not. I have given the right to everybody to record, faculty members. So requesting 2 of you at least to record. Huh? So if we are all set, can I start? Because Dean ma'am has just messaged that she may not be able to join. So I will start the process of going live. You can put the screen, Yashvardhan. Not the screen, it's the poster that we start with. Nupur ma'am, I'm recording on the computer. So I'm starting the process of going Facebook Live. We have 2 more minutes actually.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm starting to go live now because there's only 1 minute left. We can start now, Pallavi ma'am.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. According to the tradition of MIT WPU, we will start the SoFA Talks 10th session with the World Peace Prayer.
Just a minute, it's not playing. It's facing some issues. Just a second.
No worries, Yashvardhan. We can see your screen. You can just wait there for a minute and then it will start. No problem. Just share your screen when you're sharing. Ensure that you're sharing the sound. Pallavi ma'am.
Yes.
You can either you can start, or if Samidha ma'am has it, she can start.
Yes, ma'am.
Yashvardhan, you can stop your screen, please.
Somebody is sharing the screen.
Pallavi ma'am, please stop the screen. I think Samidha ma'am is going to start the prayer, so we will.
ॐ नमो जीयाद्या वेद प्रतिपाद्या जय जय स्वसंवेद्या आत्मरूपा देवा तूति गणेषु सकलार्थमतिप्रकाशु म्हणे निवृत्तिदासु अवधारि गोदी गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परब्रह्मा तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः।
A very good afternoon. Welcome to the 10th session of the SoFA Talk series. I am Dharini Nashikkar from the first year BFA Applied Arts. It gives me immense pleasure to begin with the 10th session of SoFA Talks, which we are organizing under the leadership of our Dean, respected Professor Dr. Anuradha Parasar, Faculty of Fine Arts, Media and Journalism, Faculty of Liberal Arts, and Faculty of Law. I would like to welcome respected Dr. Shruti Nigurkar, Head of School, School of Fine Arts, all faculty members, all student members of MIT World Peace University, as well as other participants who have joined this event. And finally, it's my pleasure to welcome our esteemed guests and resource person for today's session, Mr. Abhijeet Nene, graphic designer, illustrator, animator, and game art designer. MIT WPU School of Fine Arts is organizing SoFA Talks under the inspiration by our revered professor, Dr. Vishwanath D. Karad, founder president, MIT World Peace University, creator of MIT World Peace Dome, and under the motivation and inspiration of a dynamic leader, an educationist, and a committed nationalist, Honorable Executive President Sri Rahul V. Karad. MIT WPU School of Fine Arts has planned the SoFA Talk series from 7th May 2021 to 30th June 2021 under the tutelage of MIT World Peace University Academic Leadership Team, Professor N.T. Rao, Vice Chancellor, Professor R.M. Chitnis, Pro Vice Chancellor, and Professor Anuradha Parasar, Dean, FLFMJ Law. We also welcome our beloved Dean Ma'am, Faculty of Liberal Arts, Fine Arts, Media and Journalism, Professor Anuradha Parasar, who is our guiding light, mentor, and under whose supervision we are organizing the SoFA Talks 2021. Thank you, ma'am. You keep us motivated. Now, I request all of the panelist members to pose for an online photo record. Thank you, everyone. If you have any queries or questions to ask to our guest, you can post them in the question answer box. Without any further ado, I invite respected Dr. Shruti Nigurkar, Head of School, School of Fine Arts, to give a brief about the SoFA Talks.
Thank you, Dharini, for starting this session on a very nice note. I want to welcome our guest today, Abhijeet Nene, in this SoFA session, which is the 10th SoFA Talk session. Abhijeet Nene, sir, it is my pleasure to tell you a little bit about MIT World Peace University. MIT World Peace University is the Center for Scientific, Educational, Technological, and Spiritual Development. You can see that the university has the name World Peace University, and world peace is one of the very important mottos of this university. Now, having said that, this university is offering many courses at undergraduate, postgraduate, and even PhD level. Apart from that, there are certificate and diploma courses in various fields like liberal arts, fine arts, media and journalism, law, engineering, pharmacy, management, design, political leadership, governance, education, computer science, and many more. At any one point of time, you will see more than 60,000 students will be pursuing various courses under the flagship of MIT World Peace University. We are running our courses and this university under the guiding light of our honorable founder, Shri Vishwanath Karad sir, and under the guidance of our honorable executive president, Shri Rahul Karad sir. We have the leadership of our very eminent Vice Chancellor, Dr. N.T. Rao sir, Professor Chitnis sir, who is Pro-Vice Chancellor, and our Dean ma'am, Dr. Anuradha Parashar ma'am. The school, MIT World Peace University is running, the School of Fine Arts, is a very young school which is presently, aspiring to benchmark on the global standards within the coming 5 years. And that's an ambitious plan, we know, but we are taking every step towards it. This is a school where I say, which is young and dynamic school, and SoFA Talks is one of the initiatives that we have as part of, making the school known to people, as well as making the various courses known to people that are run under this school. So this school is offering BFA Applied Arts and also MFA Applied Arts, along with PhD, which will be starting from this year in visual arts. So it's an amazing platform where, if somebody is interested, they can get their education on all levels here, and they can also engage in research in this MIT World Peace University School of Fine Arts. There is a very unique teaching pedagogy that MIT World Peace University follows, and it is called as MIT WPU pedagogy, where we are stressing on overall development of our students. So you will be able to see world peace courses, which are part of the curriculum. Yoga is also a part of our curriculum. And there are many more such initiatives and methodologies that are used to ensure that our students not only get subject knowledge and expertise, but they also become good humans who will be able to carry the message of world peace across the globe, I must say. Now, coming to the SoFA Talks, it is our privilege, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart for accepting to be a guest on SoFA Talks. This is our 10th session, as you know, 11th session, sorry. We have had people like Shobhana Hadak, Samir Prabhune, Sandeep Bhamkar, Manoj Sarkar, Aditya Shirke, Oliver Martin, Saili Bhagli, Bayan Sheikh, Shrish Tiekar, and now it is an honor to have you on this 10th session. I am correcting myself again. Thank you so much. The agenda of these SoFA Talks is that to invite eminent people who have, benchmark work in various different fields that applied arts can take you to. So professional opportunities in, say, animation or web design, social media, advertising, UI, UX, illustration, e-learning, graphic design, branding, packaging, typography, calligraphy, photography. These are the different arenas which applied art education opens, and people can either go for higher studies or they can start their professional journey after BFA in applied arts. And that's why we are inviting various people who have benchmark work in any of these fields, so that not only our students who are part of this webinar, but also students from other institutes, other colleges, across other disciplines can benefit from these SOFA talks. And that's the reason why we have this talk streaming live on Facebook, because today's session where you will be discussing different aspects of animation in your talk, that will be beneficial not only for the students, but also for parents to understand what happens and the different nuances of this profession. So I'm sure that everybody is waiting to hear you, and I'm going to request our student moderator to take this session forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Shruti, ma'am. Now I would like to hand over to Mudita to introduce to our guest and resource person.
Thank you, Dharini. Mr. Abhijeet's work has expanded in the areas from animation for broadcast, TV shows to digital art, graphics, and e-learning, along with game art in conceptual as well as production art. He has also supervised storyboards and animation for a few animated feature films and several animated TV shows like Ella Bell Bingo in August Media Holdings in Singapore, Buzz Bumble in Blue Rocket, Australia, Gloria, Vilma, and Me in Puerto Rican, France, and many more. He has also been working and supervising for digital illustrations, promotional and explanatory videos and characters, environmental designs, and other art for mobile games for developers like TapLearn, SmartCloud, and others. I am sure that everyone is eager to listen to you, Abhijeet sir. Now I would request sir to begin with his today's SoFA talk.
Thank you so much, Mudita. We will be immediately going forward with the rendezvous with Abhijeet Nene sir. What we are going to follow is a question and answer session, so that some of our topics are covered, and Abhijeet, we can invite Abhijeet sir to talk on various aspects of what is script to screen, as the title says. So at the beginning, sir, I'm going to ask you with the very obvious question. What is this title, script to screen? What does it mean? And what all does it involve when we say script to screen?
Great question, very important one to start with, actually. Script to screen, in a nutshell, is the entire process of conceiving a story and actually presenting it to an audience in whatever medium. It might be a film or a play or a song or a painting, whatever medium you choose to tell the story in. So that's basically the journey of the idea being conceived to the end product. That's what script to screen means. So
when we say script to screen, what are the different steps which are important in this transition? If you can help us with that.
Okay. I'll just give you an idea of the basic types of scripts. There are different formats of scripts for different mediums. Like if we say a script for theater or a film, then you will probably have a script which is the story. Then it leads to screenplay for film. It's very similar for theater, but it's different because in a screenplay, you actually have the details of everything that is going to be seen on the screen, like whether it's night or day, or what mood it is, where the camera is sitting, things like that. Of course, a script for theater will not have these things since the camera is not moving. Then there are scripts for e-learning. There are scripts for instructional videos for TV commercials or ad films, which have a different format. For example, a script for e-learning will probably include a few columns where you will have actual content. There will be a column which tells you what will go on the screen, uh, which is in context with content. Then there will be a voiceover which you hear. Uh, so which voiceover will go with which visual, things like that. It's called instructional designers storyboard in technical terms, actually. I'm not a techie, but from whatever I've heard and I've seen, I don't work on instructional design, but we get a lot of animation work which we need to do for e-learning. So I've kind of learned a little bit on how to read these instructions. So there are a vast formats of scripts, I would say. That's relating to your question about script. And then I think let's go ahead with animation, because since that's my area of work. In animation, the next step after the screenplay usually is what we would call production design or pre-production. Basically, we call it pre-production in animation. So basically, animation, we divide animation into 3 sections. One is pre-production, one is production, and the third is post. Mostly, this is very likely for even live action, or it's common with even live action production, especially feature films. So they have a pre-production, production and post-production. So pre-production usually consists of what we call the design work. So it's character design, it is environment design, it's storyboarding. So which is not only to set the mood of the story, but the scenes in the story. Every scene has a different mood. But it also involves a lot, especially in animation. Storyboarding is extremely important because the difference between editing in animation and editing in live action is this is a part of post-production, actually, editing. But the difference is in live action, you have a 7 or 8 hour shift where you actually shoot with how many ever cameras you have. It depends on the budget of your production. Suppose you have say 7 cameras and you get all the crew to come in and shoot 7 hours. So you have footage of 7 hours of film, and then you go to the editing table and then you take whatever best you want out of it, and a lot of work is done on the editing table. But in animation, you can't afford to do that because you don't shoot anything. You actually, in the old days, you actually used to draw every frame by hand. So you can't afford to edit much. I mean, very little, a few seconds maybe. So that's the difference between. So that's why your design process has to be very, very precise in animation rather than in live action. In live action, you have a lot of leverage actually compared to animation. And then in production, you decide whether your animation goes into 2D, 3D, or stop motion. Those are the main 3 areas. 2D is 2D can be traditional or computer. Traditional is animation drawn by hand on paper and then inked on celluloid, which we call cell animation. That doesn't, nobody does that anymore. I mean, maybe a few production houses in Japan or so. Otherwise, cell is pretty much out of the picture, but they've moved to computers which kind of work like traditional animation. There are programs which you can use that give you that feel, but instead of working on paper, that is. And then there is 3D, which is an entirely virtual world. So your environments, your models, your characters, everything doesn't exist, but you can see it. I mean, it's all modeled in 3D in the software. And there is stop motion, which is really difficult to do. I mean, I'm sure people sometimes I wonder why do people even do stop motion? Why do they do animation at all? Stop motion is that difficult. It takes a lot of patience, and a lot of stop motion can be very well mimicked or imitated or emulated in 3D now. So stop motion is also kind of dying. So these are the main streams, and after this we come to post-production, which is it has a common thread, but there is still a lot of difference, especially in 3D. Post-production is very important in 3D. It has a lot more to do than 2D or stop motion. So this is, and after post-production, whatever I mean, if you're showing it or airing it on TV, or you're taking it to a theater or whatever platform, that's your output on screen. So this is the journey, compressed journey of script to screen.
Wow, that was interesting. And your mention of stop motion, it reminds me of this one movie, I think Amir Khan's movie, which became very popular because of the titles which were in stop motion at that time.
Yeah, I think Tare Zameen Par.
Tare Zameen Par. And a lot of people had spoken very well for that. And of course, you mentioned that it is very difficult, and applied art students do a lot of stop motion even in college, although the scope is small, but they can do it. And because we also do these books which are flip books, and they're very similar to stop motion at times, but for stop motion you actually create the whole scenario and you have to really go. But thank you for explaining so many different types of animation. And I think that animation, cell by cell animation, was also traditionally known as onion skin, because that was the skin which was used, and the transparency gave artists, the liberty to make different drawings. And of course, animation is a tough this thing. But what I feel is, before we go to the next question, which Pallavi ma'am will take, we'd like to see some of your work before we go to the next question.
Yeah, I've got a couple of links here which are
you can show us
my
a
old
couple,
work,
and then which you find relevant here, you can show them to us now, and then after the next questions you can show us more.
Shruti ma'am, will you let me know when you can see the screen? I mean, I've started
You can
sharing
see
it.
the screen now. You can put it on full screen and play it.
Okay, so these are of...
Hello, I'm Lucy. I live at 64 Zoo Lane, and I have some very special neighbours. Look!
There's one with a hump, and one who can jump, and one who is, well, a little bit blunt.
64, 64,
This is around 21 years
Some
old.
like it hot, and some like it chilly, and some like it both ways, and that's a bit silly.
64,
Grammarly can.
So
Wow.
that was a show called 64 Zoo Lane. That's even this one is around 21 years old, done in 2000. This is when I used to work as a traditional animator. All this was done on paper.
Wow.
I think this show was aired on some channel in India. I don't remember which one.
When Ethelbert comes out to play, he makes a new friend every day. He travels on a magic trail, Ethelbert, a tiger's tail.
I was sitting having my breakfast one day when I spotted a fearsome tiger stalking through the undergrowth. I wondered what the fearsome tiger was chasing. Was it a buffalo? Was it an elephant? Or was it a rhinoceros? No, not quite. Good morning, Ethelbert. Why are you chasing that bumblebee?
Oh, hi,
So
Dilip. Because
this is traditional or cell animation. And I'll just play another video which will show us the difference between the basically the crispness of the visual, which computer animation helps us to achieve. I mean, cell has its own advantages, and it's really there's no comparing that feeling working on paper with animating on the computer or using the computer. But the computer does have its advantages. So I'll just show you this. Especially you can make out the difference in digitally painted backgrounds. I mean, they really help to achieve a lot of things which traditional backgrounds couldn't. Did you get all of those videos? I mean, even the last one?
Yes, we could see
Yes,
it.
we could. I'm sure most of our viewers have seen it at some point earlier as younger kids or something. But so my next question to you is, sir, what we see on screen is just a tip of the iceberg. There's a lot going on which we don't really see, and many of us are not even aware that there are so many roles which are played by one person or various people. And so we would like to know that who all are involved in the whole building process of this, and what are their designations, or what is their educational background or something, if you can brief us on that.
Yeah, sure. We, as usual, we start from the script, which is like the most important. But unfortunately, in the Indian animation business, script and screenwriters are not given as much importance as they should be, actually. They are extremely important. So I hope this changes over the next few years, because it'll help our quality really grow. So it starts with the script and screenplay. So I don't really know what qualification is needed for that, but I'm sure you just need to be really imaginative and damn good with language. That's all. Just these two things probably. The next we move on to production design or pre-production. There we have character designers, we have prop designers, environment designers, uh, concept artists. Concept artists are usually artists that have an idea about a visual in the script, and they just bring out that idea through whatever medium is comfortable, whatever medium they are comfortable with. It could be just paper and pencil, or it could be a canvas. Or these days, usually most of them use any digital medium, which is very easy to basically correct or make changes to. I mean, in the digital medium, anything you need to change later if the director asks you to make changes. It's very difficult. It's very easy to make quick changes if you have it on digital and if you have it in layers separated. If your concept artwork is on a canvas or on paper, it's very difficult to change anything once you've completed the piece. It's almost like redoing the entire thing if you want to change even a single thing in your artwork. So mostly everything is moving to digital. So it starts with conceptual art, then moves to finalizing the environments and characters. I'll give you a quick example of this process. Uh, can everyone see the screen?
Yes, yes.
Yes, sir, we can.
So this is a quick example of basic ideas for environment design. Like you can see, there are 6 sketches here of different places inside or nearby a castle. It's actually it was a fairy tale story. So there is a castle, there is a palace there is a dungeon, and there's sketches of a small town on your right bottom corner. So this is how the ideas start. I'm actually not an environment designer. I mean, not, but this is some of my work I'd done for a project. And this is a more detailed version of one of these environments which we saw. So this is an idea which is very close to what we will see in production. Obviously, once if this is approved by the director, it moves ahead into production, and then some expert who is fantastic at matte painting and painting can do wonders with this idea later on. I mean, but this is how the process works. And about character design, this is another example of the basic idea for this was like a half mechanical bird, half mechanical falcon, which was basically used for surveillance. So this was for a 3D project. So usually for a 3D project, we have to, even for 2D, we have to draw out all the views. We call it a turnaround. so that the animators and the modelers, they understand exactly how the characters looks like from every possible angle, because in animation you never know what angle you're going to be using. Uh,
I think we have lost Abhijeet sir for a moment. So we'll just wait because he'll come back, I think.
Ideas come out and how they move ahead in the process. And these are a few other examples of character design. This again was for a 3D feature film. My machine is really slow. I don't know why.
It's okay. We are getting the gist of it. But while you're doing this, I'm going to, ask you to elaborate a little bit more on, because for a visual artist, that an applied artist is essentially, there are many things that he can do to contribute in animation, and character design definitely is one of them. So while you're explaining this, showing this to us, if you can also talk about, what are the philosophies that are used while, deciding what character, actually crystallizing a character, and what is the process, what are the methods, so that while you're showing, we can also understand that.
Sure. So basically, most of the principles in animation, right, they are very, very similar to principles from theater acting. Because a film is a completely different medium, and you have a lot of control in film which you don't have in theater. It's kind of the same with animation. Since real people are not acting, you need to take care that all your acting and all your designs are seen by everyone and understood by everyone. I mean, even when your animated character is acting, uh, there it should not happen that some of your acting was not understood by a certain segment of the audience, or they didn't know what the character was doing, or they thought it was doing something else. So it's very similar to theater acting in a way. Like, for example, I will give you in a theater, you cannot control the distance from the viewer the actor has. So your I mean, diction, your delivery of sound, dialogues, and your posing, or what we call in animation, it has to be so good that even if your figure is seen just as a silhouette, your acting should be so clear that even as a silhouette, people should be able to understand your emotion, or your. It's very difficult, not easy to do, but if you can get through your emotion and acting as a silhouette figure, that means you're really doing good. I mean, we have the same principle in animation. If your posing looks good as a flat figure, that means your posing is okay. I mean, things are happening. And it's the same with character design. I mean, character design actually is manipulating and controlling the imperfection or imperfections in a character. Because imperfection brings character, perfection doesn't. Uh, I hope I'm making sense. I don't know
Absolutely,
if I am.
absolutely. Yeah. We are able to understand what you're saying. So, ordinary is ignored. Something which is inordinary will always catch the attention, is what you're saying. And that's why the imperfection, as in something which is not very common, but something which has something uniqueness, is what you're trying to say. I guess.
Yeah. I mean, if your idea of perfect, I mean, if a lot of people have the same idea of perfection, uh, they'll all just look the same. I mean, if everyone wants to be perfect, we'll be like robots. I mean, there'll be no difference in anyone. So imperfection is what brings character. It makes us different. There are different permutation combinations. I mean, they're endless. But that's what brings out a character. Even if you take old movies from Bollywood, there are excellent examples of good character, which we hardly see these days. I mean, everyone looks like they just come out of uh, the gym, and they all look the same. I mean, there's no difference. So if you remember Surma Bhopali from Sholay, or even this, just that movie can give you like 5 different amazing characters. So that's what makes a character. And usually, when you have multiple characters in a TV show or a movie that are a group, they're designed as a group, or they're always together, or will be seen on screen together. Usually, what designers try to do is have as much contrast in the characters as possible. Like again, I'll share the screen once more. I'd already shown you this example, but just to make this point easier, uh, so a lot of contrast will give you a variety of characters, which will make things interesting. I mean, if you look at this, the giant teenager boy, and the old man, and the little crocodile. Uh, they're physically so different, which makes it more interesting. So if you imagine the characters with the same height, same weight, and everything, but they'll look like clones. There'll be no fun in them. Uh, so these are a few things to think about as a character designer. Uh, and the most important thing is really need to be able to draw, because no matter how many ideas you have about characters, and if you cannot draw, uh, it's very difficult to show other people what you're thinking of. Or either you need to write or draw, one of those things. Uh, so uh, working as a character designer is difficult, because uh, to reach a certain stage of drawing is difficult. I mean, it's just like a huge amount of frustration, and you just need to convince yourself that tomorrow I will probably be able to do this, and it never ends. I mean, it stays all your life.
So, carrying on with the character, how much time does it take for one character, and then again set of characters for an animator?
It depends totally on how detailed you want them to be. Somebody like I mean, if you look at the characters in Disney feature films, or if you look at anything like if you've seen Japanese feature films, maybe Princess Mononoke, or I don't know the new ones. I don't really get time to watch. But one of my favorites was Princess Mononoke. Uh, they spend a lot of time and detail. Uh, so it depends on what you're working on. If any of you've seen Peppa Pigs or Pocoyo, that is a very simple design. So that's not going to take long once you get a good style on one character. If you get a good, if you find a good style for one character, uh, something like Peppa Pigs will not take very long because it's very simple. But just coming out with a style like Peppa Pigs it could take days, weeks. You never know. You just have to always be exploring to find something new. So you can't really say how much time. It depends on what you're working on. It's different for features, different for TV, different for comics, because we don't have a big market in India for comics, but characters for comics are like uh, crazy. I mean, that is very, very demanding on an artist.
Yes, thank you, sir, for explaining the character design and the detailing which goes behind it. And of course, as you said, that sketching and drawing is the base for all these future characters which we see in animations or even in movies. They start from one sketch, and thanks for explaining that so well. So my next question is about the background. So those are also a very vital and important part and cohesive part of the whole animation process. So would you like to comment a bit on that and explain how it is done also?
Yeah, again, it's the same thing. Even for backgrounds, everything starts with an idea. Usually, everything good starts on paper. I mean, uh, I don't, I don't mean to be old-fashioned, but these days, I don't know, people are not turning to drawing at all. I mean, nobody wants to draw. Everyone just wants to work on InDesign and what other software, animate and
Illustrator,
Illustrator, but you have to draw an Illustrator, at least something. But I mean, students should not skip drawing. I don't mean everyone should become a character designer or a concept artist, but anyone working in the design area, even if you're working on user interface or graphic design or what in some area where you actually don't need to draw very well, but you should still uh, keep sketching, keep a sketchbook, because you don't need to be like an anatomy expert or anything or great in figure drawing, but keeping a sketchbook always will help you in any area of design work. So I don't know why people are running away from that these days, or at least have an iPad. Whoever can afford it, iPad is a great idea. Sketchbook is easier and much more inexpensive. So, like you had asked about backgrounds, again, a good study of perspective, really good study, is extremely necessary. There are a lot of 2D cartoons or animations where we see the environments are really distorted. Like if you look at it from a traditional perspective point of view, they will not be correct in perspective. They'll be all squashed and pulled in the wrong areas, and but uh, most of that is done deliberately. It's not an accident, because you can make out when it's an accident and you can make out when it's designed. So anyone who deliberately does that has really good skills, perspectives, and drawing skills. But you need to be able to understand where to do this and why you're doing it. So again, drawing skills is a big uh, plus for environment design, and a much better understanding of 3D than an average artist is definitely more helpful. I mean, if you can take up sculpting, that will surely help you become a better environment designer. Because these days they have a lot of good softwares like Mudbox, and I mean it's old, not very new. Even Blender is really good. I mean it's very helpful, and there is Mudbox, and there are a couple of other uh, softwares where you can actually sculpt. I mean, uh, very quickly compared to the old modeling days where you needed to like pull the vertices and get that model looking the way you wanted it to look. So technology is really helping these days. But again, to use something like Mudbox, you really need to be a good sculptor. I mean, if you cannot sculpt, uh, even if you're given great technology, you'll still be able to achieve nothing. So it's never a good idea to bypass traditional. Never ever. I mean, never bypass drawing or painting, whatever, watercolor or acrylic. Or, you should, like we say, right, in life, you need to pay your dues. So an artist has to pay his dues there. You cannot skip traditional work because it will show in your work. You cannot never jump on technology ever. So I think these couple of points will help environment designers.
So, since I think now it is very popular, but you have been a pioneer in this industry. So, we have seen your work from 20 years back, and till date, you're working in this field. So, we would like to know that how, what kind of softwares are used, and the rendering techniques and all, which can get helpful for an animator to work in the industry?
Uh, there's a lot of software which helps. I am not into 3D animation actually. I've designed. I've worked on pre-production for a few 3D projects, but I've never hands-on worked on 3D. But from what I understand, there is a lot of great technology which gives you fantastic output in 3D, which is expensive, but it's available. I mean, there are render farms which give you great texture, lighting, and whatever you want. If you have the skill to do it, output is available. Uh, but I would say don't just depend on software. Software is something you can learn in maybe 6 months. Any new program, like if you, for example, if we talk about something like Illustrator or Photoshop, uh, Photoshop is quite vast, but you can still do really good stuff in Photoshop in around 6 months or so. If you know what you want, uh, it's just a matter of learning that tool. So software is good, I think 30%, but 70% is your idea and your understanding of what you want exactly. If you can see it in your head, right, you can just painted on a paper, and then you can hire somebody to get it done in any software you want. So I'm exaggerating it a little bit. I mean, I'm very for traditional, but software is something you should not spend too much time on. I mean, you can quickly learn and quickly change also. Maybe, who knows, in the next 10 years, a lot of new technology might come where a lot of people who have spent a lot of time on learning software might even become obsolete. You don't know. So uh, I'm sorry. Did that answer your question, or do you want me to get into specifics about which softwares to use, or
If you could brief about one or two, that will be great.
for animation?
Yes.
For 3D animation, Maya is the most popular now. Blender is an open source software which is very useful. I'm I'm trying a lot to save some time so I can learn Blender. In 2D, Adobe Animate is good. Uh, it's a long way from when they started with Flash. I mean, I remember uh, moving to Flash CS3 from traditional in around 2005, when a lot of people started moving to Flash and letting go of traditional animation. It was very cost effective. It didn't get the same quality, but it was very good. At that price, it was fantastic. So Flash 2, it's called Animate now. It's not called Flash anymore. So Adobe Animate is a really good option for 2D. Uh, but a lot of people still work in Flash. Even in the 2D pro area, like people who work on TV shows and all that, they still work on Adobe Flash CS6. Not everyone is migrated to Adobe Animate yet, but maybe that will happen in a couple of years. It's very new now. For digital painting, it's Photoshop, of course, is like amazing. There is Painter, which is also good for a more traditional look and feel, like for textures and more brushes. Uh, Adobe Illustrator is fantastic for graphics and anything which you want to be scalable. Like basically, it's vector based. So I think Corel Draw was really good, but a lot of people are moving to Adobe Illustrator now. So anything for graphic design, for packaging, anything that needs to be blown up and printed on a hoarding or anything, that kind of design, if you're looking for, Illustrator is probably the best, or Corel Draw. And what else? Editing, I think Adobe After Effects is really good. It has a great what do you call variety of presets and also plugins available for visual effects like fire and water and things like that. And it's not very difficult to learn. There are other softwares for really serious special effects which are used in movies and all, like Nuke, and but I'm not into that very much. I'm not into visual effects. That's a different specialization of work, actually. People relate it a lot with animation, but it's not related at all. I mean, visual effects for live action movies is a completely different area of expertise. It's not animation. So a lot of people mistake that for animation. So it's very different.
Thank you, sir. So Shruti ma'am is going to address the next question. Ma'am, you are on mute, please.
I think
I
we'll just
hope
take.
I hope everyone's not getting bored with this.
Not at all. I don't see that happening. So we are going to come to another section of talk here because we've spoken about animations, and of course we'll see your work also later, whatever you want to show. But I really want to ask at this juncture that I have known you for many, many years. In fact, since I think
people will not
89.
believe this.
Since 89, when it was the first year for our college together. So I really want to know this because when I know you from college, I knew that you had taken photography as your elect in your BFA. And when I look back, I see that your entire profession is in animation and illustration as a primary, engagement. So I really want you to talk about how this transition and how has this photography helped you in your illustrations, your animation journey, because that's what you did. And of course, how the other way has helped you.
In my elective for last year was photography. I think I was talented, but I never focused on illustration much at that time. I don't know why, but somehow I got drawn to photography, and later, after a year or two, I am very much into Indian, for lack of a better word, mythology. A lot of people don't like to call it that, but a lot of people call it Ityas. But I am heavily into Indian mythology and even others like Greek and Nordic and Egyptian. So that I was reading like crazy around that time after college and after photography. And somehow it struck me that I should learn animation and it'll help me with like animating this all these stories from mythology and all that. So that's when I actually decided to go into animation. And then I started taking drawing seriously, which I never did earlier. So photography helped me, especially in areas like storyboarding. A lot later, of course, when I started working, when I left traditional animation, I somehow didn't like the look and feel of Flash and 2D computer animation. I just didn't like the feeling of that. So I stopped working in animation and I moved into pre-production. Luckily, I was good enough at that time and I could really get some work done. But pre-production is not easy. You can't just quickly migrate at will. Luckily, somehow it happened for me then. So I started working
You're
on
being humble
storyboarding
when you
and
say that because you're being humble because we know how talented you are.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of talented other people also, but it is difficult. So when I went into storyboarding, that's when photography and the principles and techniques started coming back to me. Actually, that's where it helped me because storyboarding is uh, a little bit of direction. It's like basically showing the director, a film director or animation, whatever, is showing him what he wants to see on screen via the medium of drawing. So basically, the director tells you what he is looking for, and you draw that and you show it to him. So, and that's how it helps the director quite a lot. It helps the producer also, because if you storyboard and spend a lot of time on planning on paper, uh, it helps you with the budgets, even in animation also, and even in live action also. I mean, just imagine if you have not worked on paper at all, you don't know, you don't have a clue about how you want to shoot a certain scene, and tomorrow is shooting, and you just uh, go straight to shooting, give the actors the script, and start trying out angles, different angles, and you don't like any of them, and it's not working at all. It's not coming out the way you want it to, for the director. So the entire day, one shift of the crew, which is, I don't know how much money, but it's a whole lot of money. Uh, it goes waste actually. So this is where the storyboarding medium helps you, and helps a filmmaker. If you get everything you want, and everything you expect to see on screen down on paper before, because with a storyboard artist, or maybe a couple of storyboard artists, you can get them to redo things 100 times, and you'll only be spending on some salary maybe, or whatever, a little money on that artist. But if you keep reshooting shifts after shifts, this is what used to happen in Bollywood in like 20 years back, when nothing was organized and they didn't even have completed scripts. It was crazy. I mean, even the budgets used to be crazy. That's what we understand by reading things. But this helps a lot, keeping budgets in place and also giving the director exactly what he's looking for. From what I hear, I think Ram Gopal Verma is one of Bollywood's directors who uses a lot of this pre-visualization work. He works on it quite a lot. So that's where photography comes in. Actually, it's a photographer uh, is half a cinematographer. I mean, if you just instead of a still camera, you just move to video, which is easily available these days. But it used to be different when we were in college. I mean, video cameras were like not easily. You couldn't get to see handy cams easily. So uh, that's where it helps me in animation even today. Uh, Planning scenes, storyboarding, or even if I ever work on painting environments or designing environments, uh, it helps me to think about light and shadow. Uh, so all the techniques and principles from photography, this is how they help you in traditional art actually. And the basically the skill of a photographer is the way of looking at something. It's not just clicking a button, because I get to hear from a lot of people is, so what's so great? I mean, if you've got a good camera, you can easily get a good picture, but not at all. I mean, it's absolutely nothing like that. I mean, you have to have a trained eye. It's like it's uh, it's all about taste basically. It's all about taste. Like if you are a vada pav eater, and you can't just go and pick up any vada pav. I mean, you will have certain places that's your special areas. Like, this is where I eat vada pav. This is where I eat whatever. So it's just like that. I mean, a photographer or any visual artist, he has to have a taste for visual. I mean, he has to look at things that way. Kind of difficult to explain for uh, people who are not from an art background, but for us here, I think it's clear what I'm saying.
Absolutely clear. We are able to understand what you're saying, and I'm sure our students are also. So I'm moving to our, towards the ending slot. But before we can end this session, I definitely want you to share. There's a series that you're doing right now. I see on FB quite often called Full Speed. And that's not animation. That's just your personal statement that you're making. As an illustrator, it's very great tool, to talk about society, to talk about maybe political issues, maybe social issues. And you're talking about social issue is what I see. So we love to see that glimpse of your work also.
Sure. Actually, this is a few years old. I tried to get this into a couple of newspapers, but didn't get much success with it. So I thought of just bringing it out on Facebook.
And the magic of Facebook, it's becoming very popular now. And people are appreciating it. So
it's a fantastic medium. I mean,
meanwhile, from viewers, if anybody has any questions, please put them in the question answer section below. And if you're on Facebook, if you're watching us live, then you can also put your questions there and we will take them. Maybe you can give us your, how did you think about this? And of course, the illustrations posts are self-explanatory, but
yeah, they're getting through now, right? You can see them. These are actually some of the things I've seen in Pune itself. So, म्हणजे पुणे तिथे काय होणे आहे तर ते खरंच आहे.
Statement on the traffic and the road conditions and the, I guess, of Pune.
Yeah, I mean, most of these are from Pune. These are things I've actually seen.
You don't have to maybe, close this window. Next time you can just go to the right arrow and you can go to the next. And I think we'll be still able to see that. Yeah.
Yeah. I couldn't see the right arrow only. It was.
Yeah, now I can see it. It's visible. Yeah. So I'm sure people are observing the statements here. And all these illustrations are done by you. How much time do you take generally?
This takes around 4 to 5 hours. So this is basically, I draw in a sketchbook and later I scan that. I ink on top of that itself. So it's inked with a black marker in the same sketchbook. And then it's scanned and I painted in Photoshop. So it's like around 3 to 5 hours. It depends on how much detail there is. So this is, I'm sure everyone has seen this. Everyone in Pune and other cities also in India.
Yes. So students can start putting their questions in the question answer section. And we'll be going to that soon after this is, seen by all of us. That's amazing. That image that you had, that's really what you see. I mean, you can go back to that, people who are traveling from one place to the other and, their pet, how can they leave the pet along with the big
Yeah, I
families
mean,
that we have in India. Yeah.
it's an ingenious way to travel. Even this, I heard from my friend that when he was in NID, he used to see this scenario every day, just outside near NID in Ahmedabad.
But I also find some caring and some that kind of attitude, in some of your where people do care for each other, and that also, it's silent, but it also comes across at times.
Yeah, like this one is sort of like that. I mean, the goods carrier driver is looking at him and he's wondering who the real goods carrier is.
True.
This is something that happens very often in our city. Uh, all the lights go on at the same time, so it's fantastic. This is something that really bothers us, most of us, a lot of times, but there's nothing much we can do about it.
Very interesting these are. And we see these in many of our films also.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And now I will request student moderators to take this forward. Anybody has any questions for Abhijeet sir, please put them in the question answer section, which is down, and you can write your question there.
Okay, so thank you, sir, for this informative session. So we have a question from Aditya Yadav. What type of animation method you are more familiar with?
Me personally, traditional animation, which is like drawing on paper.
Okay.
Like, does anyone remember? I think the students will probably be too young for this, but if anyone can remember He-Man or Spider-Man, the old series which used to be aired on Doordarshan, that was traditionally animated. Like, that was done on paper.
Okay. Next is from Yashvardhan. What exactly a concept artist needs to practice and explore illustrations as well as comic templates? I'll repeat. What exactly a concept artist needs to practice and explore illustrations as well as comic templates?
Uh, you need to practice all kinds of drawing. I mean, environment, character, animals. You need to be good at human and animal anatomy, and you have to have great imagination. You have to think about things that you not only see, but how uh, things will be in a different future on a different planet in a parallel universe. Basically, uh, you have to have a great imagination and you have to be able to draw whatever you imagine. Because these days, all concept art is, I mean, especially for films, is either paranormal, supernatural, uh, extraterrestrial. It's something which people have never seen in daily life. So that's what you need to practice to really get good at concept art. That's what you will be needing in the near future.
Okay, I guess that's. Oh, we have a question from Revati Mistry. Which softwares do you use and which would you recommend for the students?
It depends on what you're working on. Mostly, I use Photoshop That's all I use. And Adobe Animate at times. I mean, if I need to time any animation, or I work as an animation director, so I need to get across certain ideas to animators sometimes. So that's when I use Flash or Adobe Animate. So, and very rarely Illustrator. If I need to work on vector art, that's all.
Next question is from Ankita Merkale. Are you a good reader? How has it helped?
I don't know if I'm good or not, but I read quite a lot, and it helps. It helps in every area of life, not only your work, but you should always read. I mean, basically, it's like, first of all, it's the cheapest form of entertainment you can get. I mean, compared to movies and spending 500 on a ticket and then another 500 on popcorn and coke. And I'm not saying movies are bad. I mean, they're fantastic. It's what it's related to work. So, but even if you don't have power, I mean, there are power cuts in our city now. So a book can still get you through life, even if you don't have anything. You have an entire universe in a book. So your reading always helps.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Next is again from Aditya Yadav. So, what is your favorite project of your beginning stage? Please tell a few things regarding that.
Favorite project of the beginning stage. Uh, I think when after 3 years or 4 years after I started animating, 3 years, uh, I was working in Bangalore, and we had done a pilot for, if you've heard of R.K. Narayan's A Tiger from Malgudi. Uh, R.K. Narayan is R.K. Lakshman's brother. He's a fantastic writer. Uh, he, I hope you know R.K. Lakshman, because these days people have not heard of these people. I mean, students have not heard of them. So basically, there was a book by R.K. Narayan called A Tiger from Malgudi, and someone uh, was willing to pitch in funding for producing the movie, animated movie. So we had done a 5 minute uh, session for that. It didn't work, unfortunately, because something went wrong with the funding. But I had a really fantastic time doing that. It was fun.
That's it. And that concludes the question and answer session. Now, I'd like to conclude this session. It was indeed a great honor to listen to you, sir. I would like to thank you for this enriching session. I would also like to thank respected Professor Anuradha Parasar, Dean, Faculty of Fine Arts, Media and Journalism, Faculty of Liberal Arts and Faculty of Law. I would also like to thank respected Dr. Shruti Negurkar, Head of School of Fine Arts, all the faculty members and all the participants for joining in. To conclude the session, I would like to request our technical team to play the Pasaidan.
Okay, just before you play the Pasaidan, please can you pause for a minute?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I will definitely like to thank Abhijeet sir for coming here and doing this amazing interactive session. This was amazing because the way you explained, I'm sure that everybody in the audience is going to get something or the other from that. And before I close, I will also like to tell audiences that we are having these SoFA sessions where we are inviting very eminent people with great careers in their respective fields. And this was the 10th session. We are going to have many more. We are planning 25 in total. So stay tuned. Also, this session is presently going streaming live on Facebook page of MIT WPU School of Fine Arts. So in case you have joined in between, or in case you want to, refer to it back, you can definitely have a look again on the page. You can also tell your friends, if you think that this is, interesting session, to visit our Facebook page where this is live, and it will be there for anybody to have a look. Having said that, once again, Abhijeet sir, thank you so much. And now we will close by having Pasaidan. Sir, do you want to say something before we start the Pasaidan?
Not really. I've said a lot. So thanks everyone. Thanks for inviting me.
Thank you. Thank you.
जे खळांचे व्यंकटेशांग तया सत्कर्वी रतिवाढ भूता परस्परे पडो मैत्र जीवांचे दुरिताते तिमिरता विश्वस्वधर्म सूर्ये पाहो जो देवांची लतोटेला हो प्राणी जात वर्षत सकळ मंगली ईश्वर निष्ठांची मांडी आली अनवरत भूमंडळी भेटतो भूताल चला कल्पतरूंचे आरव चेतना चिंतामणीचे गाव बोलते जे अर्णव पियुषाचे चंद्रमेघे अनंतला मार्तंड देता पहिल ते सर्वाही सदा सज्जन सोय रे होते बहुना सर्व सुखी पूर्ण होऊन लोकी भजितो आदि पुरुषी अखंडित आणि ग्रंथोपजीविये विशेषी लोकीये दृष्टादृष्ट विजय होवावे एक म्हणे श्री विश्वेश्वराय आहोल दान पसावो नेने वरे ज्ञान देवो सुखिया झाला
Thank you, everyone. See you in the next SoFA session. We'll be closing this session now.